all of you all.
Yeah. Welcome back, Suman. Wishing you Happy New Year.
Yes, yes. Wishing you all also.
Thank you. Thank you.
Welcome back, Suman. Wishing you Happy New Year.
Yes. Happy New Year, Deepak, Premraj, Suchi, Saroj, Ved.
So, hello, namaste, namaskar, good afternoon, good morning, or even good evening in whichever part of the world you are joining us from. My name is Deepak R. Khemani, and I am one of the co-founders of Bloom. Along with my co-founder and co-host today, KV Premraj, who is back after a hiatus, I take this opportunity to welcome you all to the first week of the new year, the first program, the first Sunday of the new year, episode number 229. For the past 229 weeks, come rain or shine, online or offline, Sunday Bloom Talk Show has been on air. Whether you are attending online, whether you attend a live session which we plan, it gives me great pleasure to welcome you all. Let me start by wishing everyone a very happy new year, and I will hand it over to Premraj. Over to you.
Thank you, Deepak. And like Deepak mentioned, we are in a 229th episode. And thank you everyone for the support that you all have given us. While we from Bloom wish you a very, very happy and eventful new year in 2025. For 228 weeks, we have brought you all guests who were champions in their field. Today, continuing the series, we have our next guest who is a beacon of transformation and healing. We have with us Suruchi Hirawat, an internationally certified holistic transformational coach and Mrs. India Earth. She spent over a decade helping individuals break free from emotional blockages and unlock their full potential. Through her platform, Insight, she offers a unique approach to healing, guiding one to shed anger, fear, failure, and other silent burdens that weighs one down. With an impressive array of certifications, from Access Consciousness to Theta Healing, Tarot, and Shamanism, Suruchi is a true master in the art of empowerment. Let us dive into a conversation that promises to bring warmth, joy, and profound change into your life. Welcome to the show, Suruchi.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to share the platform with all of you guys. And what an amazing year to start with. So I'm really humbled and grateful to all of you for this opportunity. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's a privilege to have you here. So let's start. Suruchi, you are a holistic transformation coach with so many titles under your belt. How did you go from the world of HR and marketing to become a healer, medium, and energy expert? Was it a sudden light bulb moment or more of a gradual journey?
It was more of a gradual journey to begin with. It was very interesting because I had a question. There's more to life. So while I was pursuing my career, but there was a one question. There's more to life. Being a daughter, a mother, a wife, a sister. What does life hold? And there was an emptiness. There was something that was empty. It was not that I had a problem or something, but there was an emptiness that was lingering on. So for me, I would ask everybody who have something to say about life and things, but still I didn't pay that much attention. It only, I think I started diving more into this subject only when my son started having nightmares in the night. And when we had just moved from Singapore, and he was 3 years old, and he was having nightmares in the night, and That time I had a friend who was doing theta healing, and she suggested, why don't you try alternate therapy? You have tried everything, it's not working. And it was very amazing to find that he was actually scared of me, and he was venting out in the night because he was a hyper child, and it was very difficult to catch hold because he would jump everywhere, break everything. So I must have, in my transition from Singapore to Delhi to my parents' house, must have told him that if you be naughty, I will leave you here. And that kind of logged into his subconscious. And when we made a transition from Singapore to Bombay, that fear started creating havoc in his sleep that he was not able to sleep through, because he thought if he sleep, maybe my mom will leave me. Like just one sentence of that, you don't know what impact that one particular sentence can create in someone's world. And that was a shocking moment for me as a mother, because I thought I'm the most chilled out mother, but it came like a knock knock, hello, watch out what you're doing and be. So it started from there. And every year I was like, I would like to know about this, because there's so much we put behind the burner. We don't kind of address our thoughts, our feelings, our emotions, our hurt, our pain, because we don't want to deal with it. And we like, okay, if I will not look into it, it will disappear. Let me focus somewhere else. So that's how gradually every year I educated myself, trained myself. I traveled around the world to gather knowledge. I was not actually, then also I was not sure whether this is the line that I'll pursue. But how I started, like there was a lingering thing that there's something I was saying, but doing this courses just made me feel complete. That void disappeared. So that's how it started.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. You have been practicing healing for over a decade now.
Yeah.
Apart from your son,
Yeah.
what is the most profound transformation that you have witnessed in someone, and how did it change their life forever?
So it's like, see, the thing is, when people come, especially, it's mostly because they are very broken from inside. They have lost their hopes, like whether it's a disease, whether it's a monetary issue, whether it's a relationship issue. Sometimes they have lost that self-confidence. We all have it, but sometimes it's so broken that it's beyond repair, where they are giving up the hope, whether they have hope from the God or from people. It's like, it's literally, and that is where they go either into a depression or a shutdown or cut off, where everybody is potential. Everybody has that potency, but then we go reverse. So it's like there's a lot of people who one thing I'll share is like somebody I knew who came, later on became a friend. Initially it was a client. Through so much of hardships she has gone through in terms of relationship, where she lost her confidence in herself, where she gone through so much of abuse. It was emotional, it was physical, it was financial, different types of abuse, where she was only living for her son, but she didn't know what to do. It was a strong woman, fully educated. It was not like we sometimes feel, okay, she may not be literate or she may not be independent. And she was in such a fragile state. So working with her, and because see, the thing is, when you're in a fragile state, you will not trust people. You're not open to your wounds because you don't know how to close it then. It's a very delicate that you have to take every step in a very delicate manner. That was a profound change where I felt, oh, what I do can shape people's life. Just holding their space or giving them that platform where it's okay. Where it's okay to melt, where it's okay to crumble, where it's okay. Why? Because you will again rise up. This is not an end. And working with different modalities and processes where unlocking the trauma that the body has locked in. Like my mind can process, I am ready to do it. But energetically, I'm not able to take that step. Like how many times we witness, and after hearing we are all pepped up. But after 1 week, we go back to the old self. We like, oh shit, Where did the Josh go? Where did that motivation go? What's wrong again? We go back, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with my life? So these energy work held that space, unlocking it her, and it's been what now? It was 7 years back, and now 7 years later, when I see her, she's no longer, she's like, I'm no longer, I'm so grateful that it changed. So sometimes that gratitude that you get, like for me, that gratitude that I get, and then people says thank you for just being there and holding that space, because a lot of times we know what we need to do or change, but we can't make that way. We need somebody just holding a hand, showing or giving them, it's okay if you fall, I'm there, that space. So that transformed her life, but that shift also transformed my life. It made me realize that yes, just a little change one day, maybe one day, because we go in our own process, oh, it's not, this is not speeding up, my work is not speeding up, but all these things just made you realize, just hang on, because it's just making deeper change. It didn't change her, but it changed the entire family that was breaking, that kind of bonded again together. So yeah.
Thank you. Just holding the space, holding the hands of someone. And then after 7 years, that person coming out and expressing their gratitude, something remarkable. You have mentioned that emotions like pain, anger, and failure are silently locked within us. What is the first step for someone who feels emotionally stuck and does not know where to start their healing journey?
See, the thing is, it's a sign when you're emotionally stuck, you're only thinking about that emotion in your head again and again. It's like on a repeat mode, we are only thinking. It's like how many times when we go out, when we feel happy, we don't think about that emotion. We only think about what went wrong. It's like an autoresponder. It goes in your head again and again. And what we are doing, we are recreating that emotion. So we all know what we are thinking. We may not say it loud, but we know what we are thinking in our head, in our subconscious. It's not literally in our subconscious, but in our head, whenever you have a quiet moment. So if you're going through, there are three things that I would like to suggest. First, if you don't know, just ask, what's the value of holding on to this emotion? Because there's some value. That's the reason I'm holding on to this emotion. When I write down what's the value of holding on to this emotion, and you can journal it. Because a lot of times in our head, we're thinking something different, but when we are actually penning it down, the true emotion comes out. You'll get a clarity of why you're holding on. What's the value of holding on to it? Okay, so once you get an awareness, then you're like, okay, is this emotion serving me in any way? The second question I'll ask, is this emotion serving you in any way? Because you will only hold on to something that is serving you, whether you like it or you don't like it. Then the third is, okay, acknowledge, and now I'm ready to let go of it. Like I do various modalities. The fastest is the access one, because if you use the clearing statement, it speeds up the process. So you can use this clearing statement: right and wrong, good and bad, POC and POD, all 100 short, boys, powats, buses, creation and beyond. What is behind this clearing statement is it's an energy. Whenever if I ask you a question, before you answer, the energy will come up. Okay. This clearing statement helps you go back to the time you may not be cognitively aware of, where you thought that I would like to create this, or this is the problem. It starts wiping it. It starts breaking the molecule from that space. That starts creating more space in you. It's like a delete button in our subconscious. So it works as a delete button when you're like, when our files are heavy loaded and we feel, oh, this is no longer required. We put a delete button and put it into a trash. So this is how it works. Sometimes people will be like, but I can't think anything. It's okay. You don't have to have a cognitive awareness of it, because whenever we ask something or whenever we say, the energy present itself first and then come the words. So even if you're just doing the clearing statement, everything creating this, the short form is POC and POD, everything creating this 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 POC and POD. Suddenly you'll see there's a space in your head. So even if you don't know, when you clear it, there's a space. And there's a space, it will allow you to penetrate deeper. It's what's really is the reason behind that emotional turmoil. Because each one of us have a different sensitivity level, right? I may be touchy about a lot of things and you may not be. So I don't know what hurt me, which may not make sense to anybody, but it's my hurt because it really matters to me. So that will allow you to unlock it.
Quite profound. Thank you. Between balancing your various healing practices and your MBA, how do you find that working with the intangible energy realm give you more clarity than traditional business strategies? Or is there a unique intersection between the two?
There's a unique intersection between the two because, see, the thing is, I'm a part of this reality. If I only go energy, 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 people will not be able to relate to me. Okay, because everybody doesn't understand or see things with the way I see. The way you see life, I may not be able to see it. And energy is something that you cannot really describe in words. You can only sense and feel it. So because this is my profession, this is what I do. So my MBA degree of human resources and marketing helped me to put it into words which is tangible, which is understandable, so that people don't miss out receiving something that they can't understand or they feel huggus buggus. Like how many times, like if somebody would have said, what are you talking? It's all huggus buggus, nothing. But it's just like how the thoughts, feelings, emotions, how would you like to put it into words palatable that people can relate to it? So that's where the HR, the marketing degree come in hands, to put something that is intangible, not definable.
Thanks. That's a great explanation. Now let's go to your platform, Insight Insight. How does Insight help people uncover and shed their emotional baggage? Can you share one quirky or unexpected result a client has had from your platform?
So it's like, it was very interesting in the sense, somebody who had, recent example I'll give you what is coming because it's been so long, but somebody who came during COVID time and has lost the job and had no money, literally borrowed the money to do the session and classes with me. Okay. And in 2 years, the transformation is like, she now has her own company. She bought a land. Like there's no, the whole zero, from zero to having so many zeros with one figure has increased. So it is just that the trust and the choice that she made to change something has, it's like, it's amazing where from having zero bank balance where she had to borrow the money to having in 2 years time the whole transformation of having her own company, having staff, and I don't know, it's amazing. Like I don't want to put the numbers here, but it's like a whole transformation. So yes.
Lovely, that's great. In our platform, many of our guests have shared how people they came into contact with during COVID times when they were in the dumps suddenly rediscovered themselves, pivoted themselves, and made a mark for themselves in life. And this is another example. Thank you for sharing that. Shamanic practices and tarot cards are often seen as mystical and ancient. Do you think the coming generation will embrace these more? Do you see healing shifting from esoteric to mainstream in the future?
I really think that it is going to change because the stress level has increased. Everybody, even a 4-year-old child, feels stressed. The word stressed. And there's so many words that we take it loosely that kinds of impact. And and the new generation is more emotional than we were. We were more practical. The new generation is more emotional. But the beauty is that they are very responsive to change. So it's like they want to know because they know there's something outside that also exists that they can guide them. They don't stick to them, that is the only solution, but they're happy to receive the information. And like I remember doing classes for youth the Access Bars class for the youth, and the responses, because whenever I facilitate a class, and in Access, if you're below 16, you are allowed to come free with your parents. The turnout of young kids in the classes is amazing, and the question that they ask, they don't have a problem. They're a very curious sort. They're like, okay, why is this? You reason it out with me. If you can reason, I will change it. But we are stuck up because we want to hold on. We feel we are right. Our points of views are right. Our judgment is right. They're like, there's no right and wrong. If this works, I'm going to change. So the adaptability, the curiosity of their mind, and at the same time, it's amazing. They are much more higher in their thought process than us. I have to admit that. So yes, it's not mystical. They know there's something, and it's like tarot. I think everybody wants to make that choice. They want to know. Like, I know they come for their love life reasoning out, but at the same time, they're open to see like how this is not set in stone. This is just a prediction. But if you make a different choice, different result will show up. And they're more adaptable to change than us.
That's nice to hear. The young generation are adaptable to change and they come with an open mind and they are willing to change. So that holds forward good for us. How do you keep your own energy, aligned while keeping and helping others with theirs? How do you have any favorite self-care ritual that keeps you grounded in this high energy work?
Yes, because sometimes you get soaked in. Sometimes you get soaked in other people's energy. So what I do is like I kind of take the 10 minutes in between morning, afternoon, evening, just centering within myself so that I know whatever is going in my space, whether it's energy or thought, whether it's mine or someone else. So I can clean my space. So that helps me get grounded back. So this is what I do is like I generally put a timer of 10 minutes and put my phone aside and then just sit without anything, just within myself, because it helps me to get connected to my own energy, my own aura, my own space.
That's nice to hear. When you're talking to entities or doing past life healing, how do you deal with moments when people are skeptical or unsure? How do you convince them that what you're offering is real and can be transformative?
See, the thing is, when we are talking about past life entities, we have all gone to Babas, Munis, Rishis. We have gone the Jhara done and we have done everything. So it's not that we don't believe that it doesn't exist. Somewhere we know it exists. And that's the reason we sort out remedies. So coming to this different space is like, people are going through a problem, they're looking for a solution. So it's like, there's a need. And when there's a need, there's not much of explanation that is required. But at the same time, it's also, it's the thing that it's just shifting an energy, because those entities are nothing. Like we feel scared of it, but there's nothing to be scared of, because if I leave my body, and I may have an emotional connect with my family, I may not choose to go up. I may choose to hang around with them without a body. So when you start putting it this way, I will not be fearful of my grandmother. I'll not be fearful of my loved ones who have passed. But at the same time, when you're making them realize that sometimes the low vibrational being get attached because they don't know. The only thing here is when you behave powerless, they can have impact or power over you. But when you claim your own power, they cannot. It's like, I can be scared of the goon, but if I look into the eyes and move back, and I mean it, for a moment he'll move back because he have not expected that kind of a response. So here, when you say that it's not going to possess you, the whole fear is that will I get possessed?
Yeah.
Or will it create a negative impact? But it's amazing how it shifts the energy. It's, yes, there are entities who get kind of stuck to you. There are those, just like people who don't listen to the no, right? You have to say them with authority, no means no. And they'll still try to push their luck. The same thing is with certain entities who are those. But there are tools, when you use that and it says, I mean, back off. And they literally do that.
Oh,
And it's like how your relationship with these people is similarly, it will be this with the spirit world. It's not going to be different. If people walk over you in your personal life, you'll allow those entities to walk over, because what is the core belief? That I am powerless. So, yeah.
that's something to ponder over. With your experience in so many healing modalities, from theta healing to tarot reading, if you could give me, Deepak, and everyone who is listening here one superpower today, what would that be and why?
One power is first the acknowledgement that we are the creator of our life. Life doesn't happen to us. Because when we start our mindset from we are the creator of life, okay, why did I choose to create this? Then you can change it. But we go into blaming game. This happened to me. This person did this to me. This. So it's everything is outside. We are not the creator. We become the by-effect of it. So first we have to acknowledge everything that is going in my life, the good, the bad, the ugly. I am the creator of it. Once we move that shift from you to I am the creator, then I can change it. So that is first I practice like, oh, I created it. This happened. Maybe unconsciously I made that choice and it resulted in this. So that is one thing, that I created it. Everything, the good, the bad, the ugly. The second thing is, if you wake up in the morning and you can say all of life comes to me with ease and joy and glory. So you're inviting life with ease. It's not that the problem will not show up, but it will get resolved or moved with a lot of ease, with a lot of joy and the exuberance of life. And when you go back, then in the night when you sleep and you say all of life comes to me with ease and joy and glory, basically what you do, you are putting this into your subconscious. You're getting aligned with the higher universal energy and saying, I would like life to come to me with ease and joy and glory. Like you're giving an order, like how you go to a restaurant. I want this, but I want this. So they give you exactly the same. So when you get up in the morning, instead of getting up stressed, worried, looking at your phone, just take that quiet moment with yourself and says, okay, all of life comes to me with ease and joy and glory. Say it 10 times, 20 times, and you'll be amazed with how you react to the situation. Your reaction will change.
No, it is something that we will try. My last question to you before
Sorry
I hand
to
it over.
interrupt. Don't try, because try is your word.
Okay, I will do it.
Do it. It's a polite way of saying no.
We will do it.
Yes.
My last question to you before I get Deepak on the show. In a world that is constantly changing, what is the most important message you want to share with people as they navigate their future with all its uncertainties and challenges? How can they begin to live life full of freedom and joy?
People's opinion doesn't matter. Love you for who you are, because people's opinion will change based on what's going inside their head. If I'm happy, everything you do is okay. If I am struggling with my issue, I am going to be critical about you. So they are not actually talking about you. They're talking about themselves when they love you or they hate you. So people's opinion doesn't matter. Make choices, fail. It's okay, because none of us are perfect.
Nice thought to leave with. Deepak, all yours. Please take it forward.
Yeah, none of us were perfect. If we became perfect, we would all become gods. So
I think we leave God to do his duty and let's enjoy the earth with the human body.
yes, let him do his job and we'll do our jobs.
Yes.
So with all these jobs which you are doing, all these modalities which you have worked on, trained and got certified, access consciousness, entity certified facilitator, theta healing, shamanic, practitioner, tarot card, past life regression, inner child crystal. How do you decide which of these healings are apt for this particular person who comes to you, for help? Or, many would say, let me try a Crocin, and if the headache doesn't go, I'll try a Combiflam, and then I'll try a higher power, or I'll switch to a different medicine. How does that work? How do you decide?
See, the thing is, when people come with their approach, okay, so they have already, even whether they say it or not, they have pre-decided what they want to do. Okay, so when you are pre-decided, if you've already decided you want to have a dosa, and if I try to offer you a burger, you're going to refuse me. Even if you eat it, you'll find a lot of problem with that, because you are looking for a different flavor and I'm giving you a different flavor.
Yeah.
So, and because of being energetically intuitive in your space, I also get the read that this person would like this. So I throw a question. I say, which one are you inclined? And there's no, everything can reach to the journey.
Yeah.
Like some people like to cycle, some people want to go in the car, some people like to walk, and there's nothing wrong about it.
Yeah.
It's just the process or the timing it takes, longer or shorter.
Yeah.
But so it's like with that, if they leave it on me, I give them a suggestion. But sometimes if they have already heard, because when they're coming, this is certain thing that you come by reference, right? So somebody has tried already something and they've got a result. So they want to do the exact same thing because they feel that will only provide them the result or the solution they're looking for. So they have not really come with an open mind. They've come with what they're really looking at.
Yeah.
So then I just give them that. So when that trust and open space opens up, then they're ready to receive a little bit more.
So finally, you are the doctor. You decide what medicine to give and when, correct?
I don't decide. See, the thing is, I can, but if you say you don't want to take medicine, then I have to give you something else. Okay, you're not good at medicine. Why don't you do this Kriya?
Yeah.
Or why don't you go for a walk? So it is mutually decided rather than dictatorship.
Yes. So one part is that. The other part is, most people look for alternative therapies or healing or holistic healing when they've tried out, normal allopathic medicine, and then they've probably tried homeopathic also, and then everything else doesn't seem to work, and then let me go and find somebody who can heal me internally or, clear the energy. Or at what point can we, we as a collective, as people, understand that, before going to a doctor or popping that pill, there is actually a way of, clearing the energy or the negative thoughts, or doing this sort of an exercise or a process where probably I don't even need to take the pill. How does that work? How can we make people realize that, let's do this first?
See, the thing is why? Because we have shut listening to our body. Okay, we want to suppress the emotion that wants to speak loudly. It's like a child, he's crying. We give him a candy.
Yeah.
We switch on the TV so that he keeps quiet. We are not going and asking, hey, what's wrong with you? What's happening? Right? So the moment if we get an awareness of what's creating this, we can change it.
Yeah.
So we want everything instantaneously. And instantaneously, okay, so let's pop a medicine. I know it will shut. I know it will reoccur twice.
Yeah.
But for time being, I can do what I'm doing.
Hmm.
So what if we can take the moment? Because if you don't take care of your body, it's like we are known because of our body. Otherwise, we would have been an entity without a body, right?
Yes.
And which we all scared of.
Yeah.
So now it's like, what if we just, before you go in the morning or in the evening, whenever you have a quiet time, what if we can connect with our body and says, hey, body, what's really going on?
Hmm.
Because sometimes we need that doctor. Alternate therapy can give you an awareness of where it's unlocking. Sometimes it's not either or. It's a combination of both. Sometimes you don't require, because when you are in alignment with your body and connecting and listening to your body, because what we do is we don't listen to our body, we dictate to our body. This is good. This is bad. This is what we need to do. Why? Because the whole world is doing. No. Each body is different and each day the requirement is different.
Yeah.
So once we start connecting, it's not because my body has a problem. It's like, why will I not listen to my body? Why will I not make my body my best friend?
Yeah.
We only listen when it's screaming and shouting, and that is disease.
Yeah.
So that shift when you change, and then you're like, okay, alternate therapy is not about fixing a problem, but it's giving me from where it started, the source point. What is that emotion that I am locking it, that if I unlock it, can create that space, that joy for my body? Because our body can heal itself.
Yeah. Body can heal itself. We all understand that, but somehow we don't believe in it, and then the pill popping and everything starts. So,
See, the belief comes because I asked you to do it today. You didn't do it.
yeah,
Bogus, bogus. I'd asked you to do it today. You're not supporting.
yeah.
But it's like, take us for an example. Like, okay, if my friend keep dictating me again and again and again and again, and some days I want to get back,
Yeah.
high tide.
Yeah.
And when will I get back? When you need the most, I'll say, oh, I'm not getting up today.
Hmm.
So what if you can start listening to your body so
Hmm.
that you know what it's speaking, what it would like, and it will tell you, hey, take this medicine. It will tell you, go for a walk. It will tell you, meditate. It may tell you, hey, do a journal, write it down. These are nothing, it's just a connection, a different way of knowing ourselves better.
So, I mean, again, I'll just like to continue that similar question where, there are so many of these therapies. Which one of these therapies works on what better? Which means, let's say, you've tried an access bars works on adults better, or children respond to inner child healing better, or each one for his own.
See, each works better. With Access Bar, is basically a 32 points on your head, right? When I gently tap into it, it starts deleting the thoughts, feelings, emotions that are no longer working for you. It actually helps us to receive. So it doesn't age appropriate. Why? Because see, the thing is, I don't know how old is my being. My body may be small. So
Yeah.
whatever unprocessed emotion that I have, I've taken it to my next life with that. So my story doesn't start new, but it starts with the baggage that I'm carrying forward.
Hmm.
Helps me to drop that baggage so that it can create that space.
Yeah.
Okay, so it helps in anybody and everybody. Everybody have a different experience altogether.
Yeah.
Because when you're cleaning spaces, whether it's a child or a 90-year-old, everybody feels lighter, happier, and lesser of a judgment of self or your body. So it
Hmm.
starts deleting in that. Inner child is sometimes there's a particular emotion that you know it's coming,
Yeah.
and you're repeating on an autopilot. And sometimes you feel it's my inner child problem because I face this in the child. So you are not ready to let it go because you are not thinking anything. All you did in the access bar is you lie down and you slept. And you're like, I don't know, I didn't sense anything.
Yeah.
I just slept. Did it really work? But in that inner child, because you're present and I'm taking you back to the journey, sometimes you need that kind of a closure before you can let go.
Hmm.
So that's the reason different types of healing or modality work depending on what situation we are stuck in.
Yeah. So, does it require a physical presence of a person, sitting in front of you for you to be able to either read him or her, their energy, their aura, or does it happen online also? We are talking to each other, you are answering, I'm asking you questions. Let me ask you, try and read me on, just tell me a little bit about myself.
See, the thing is, it doesn't need to be in person. It can be because, see, we are not just a body. A being is spread out everywhere. You can sense, like how even if you on the phone when you're talking to somebody, okay, and you are connected with that person, you'll say, hey, what's wrong? The person is, nothing is wrong, but you know that there's something wrong because you're reading that energy. You're not buying the lie or the fabrication the person is saying, because you know there's something deep down. With the false smile, there's something holding back, right? So we all have that ability.
Yes.
And yes, I can read. Sometimes it's like people say read me out, but then the thing is there's a barrier. Okay, prove me.
Yeah.
When there's a proving barrier, you have to just lower the barrier and says, okay, fine, how can I contribute to you? So when I open the space of contribution, you are like, okay, you're not here to fix me, you're only here to contribute. So it kind of balances, open up the molecules. And yes, it can be done, but there's certain modalities that cannot be done online, like for example access bars, because you need the body, you need the head. I cannot do. But a lot of things like symphony channel sessions that I do, or tarot, or other body processes and all, that can be done distance and offline.
Yeah. Wonderful.
Online, sorry.
Wonderful. So, you've been Mrs. India Earth, and that is a totally different, glamorous place. And this is a place where you are trying to heal and help people, work with their energies and their barriers and pain. A place where you are like, pencil thin and curvy, and you are smiling on stage, and then you are getting applauded, and everybody's, wow, she's a winner, or, and here internally, probably we don't get to see the pain and the suffering of the people because they are smiling, and they're trying to make a point. Elect me, I'm the most beautiful. And then you actually see inside, people are not so happy, aren't so beautiful inside. Just compare these two worlds. Tell us a little bit about both these realities, and what has been your experience since you've been on both the sides.
See, it's the experiences because, see, as a growing up, fashion was like, I still love fashion. I will not deny that because I believe in inner and outer beauty.
Yeah.
Why will you not look beautiful inside and outside? And the more you're working on inside, the more outside glow it happens.
Yes.
And some people like clothes, some people don't like. It's a personal choice, but I like it. I like both the world. And the beauty is the experience that I had was because maybe it was a childhood dream that I had, but I could not do the modeling or in the thing. So I got this opportunity after I got married. I did it after 40. And the beauty is like then also it was a realization like everybody is 40 years old, okay? But still there's so much of insecurity. You may be a president somewhere, you're holding that position, but still you're so insecure. There's like, you want to pull the other person down. So I was like, oh, it's still prevalent because somewhere in your head, you think when you reach a certain position, you will not go so low, like pulling somebody down to gain a position. So it was an eye opening. And at the same time, when I was walking the ramp, I was enjoying it. It occurred, this is not what I wanted from life. It was that realization that I did it because it was one of my goal, one of my dream that I had to tick box a box.
Yeah.
But when you walk it, and I was like, oh, if I spend so much hour doing this, but doing one session gives me so much joy that walking or doing all this is not giving. It's not that I don't like it, but this is not for me now. It may have been my dream earlier, but it's not for me now. It's not that people are toxic, but because maybe with the energy that I can shift the spaces there also. I can contribute the energy there also. Because everybody requires, because each one of us, whether we are in that profession or any other profession, have some bitterness inside for something or the other, or require some kind of information or a support.
Yeah.
But walking the ramp, smiling, I just made a realization that I don't want to go, like I was chosen to go for international. I was like, no, I'm not going to go there because I don't want to spend my time, energy, and money pursuing something that doesn't bring me joy now.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So you've seen both the worlds, that world of the ramp, and then outside the ramp, you are trying and helping people become better versions of themselves. So, how tell us a little bit, a small exercise or some sort of a process or something. You said, get up in the morning and then, give us some me time or do some exercise. Tell us something that most of us can do, just not because, there is some pain or some problem inside, but just to have that extra energy, that extra pep inside when I've gotten up in the morning saying, wow, this is another good day. Let me go and, crush my goals or, re-meet my targets. How do we start our day?
So the thing is, before you get up from your bed, just take that moment, which put your hand on your heart, okay? That's a way you connect with your body. You connect. And the first thing, because we are who we are, the images because of our body, that is the first thing that people see. And whatever you have a good health, bad health, whatever it is, and you take a moment and say, thank you, body. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for being there. Thank you. And then you start with the question, what grand, glorious, and adventure can I have today? Rather than already thinking what will happen. Because when we get up, we have already pre-decided how my day is going to go. And that is how things go. But when I start asking, okay, what grand and glorious and adventure can I have today? And how does my day get any better than this? This is another tool. whenever you're stuck, and you can start asking, okay, how does this situation get any better than this? How does this problem get any better than this? How does my health get any better than this? How does my joy quotient get any better than this? You're asking for it to become better and better and better. That is where you're putting your energy, and it is going to get that energy. And if you feel low on energy, how does my energy level get any better than this? And you will see a shift, because the moment you ask a question, the molecules have shifted and changed just by asking a question. We look for an answer. I'm not asking you ask an answer, because answer is also predetermined.
Yeah.
Then you cannot have a different future, because you're already going to chase the answer that you already have it in mind. So when you start your day with a question and a connection with your heart and saying thank you, that is the energy of gratitude. That is powerful. That is the beautiful energy that any one of can have, because that just shifts the whole dynamic of how we be in the world, how we receive people, and how we create things from.
Yeah.
Because we start cribbing. Instead of starting cribbing, we can start with gratitude, and with the question. It just changes the whole dynamic situation.
Yeah. So where does prayer fit into all this? You know, we understand prayer is also about gratitude, acknowledging the higher power, acknowledging that we had a great day yesterday, and hopefully I will have a similar prayer today. And irrespective of religion, whether you are praying in front of a picture or an idol, or whoever you feel is your saint or God, how does prayer and where does it fit into it?
See, prayer also, it's like we don't do the prayer from our head, we do it from the heart, right?
Yeah.
So when I'm doing the prayer, automatically I'm getting connected to myself. Okay. And I'm opening my doors, because with God, we don't have inhibitions, we don't have judgment. We open our heart out. So the door, the heart that we have closed to the world, that stop our receiving, actually opens up. And when we open that, we flow. It's just that whether I do, like, I'm a Jain, so I was taught to do the Namo Aryantanam the moment we get up.
Yeah.
Okay, without even, so it's like a auto train. Even if it's a problem, somewhere that thing will run. Why? Because God doesn't have a judgment. Basically, you're saying, hey, you take care of this. Okay, give me the strength, the courage. And it basically, prayer grounds us. It's not about religion, because I'm not a big believer of religion. I believe it's a universal power whom we give different names. Like, we all are collectively one source, split it into different fraction, men, women with different identities, right? Because that's how I can relate.
Yes.
Because each one of us give us different power. But prayer is basically being humble, grounded, and it's basically I'm surrendering to the higher power. It's like it helps to keep our ego in check.
You know, listening to Namo Aryantanam from Lata Mangeshkar singing for those 5 or 7 minutes in the morning, it's a total different experience. It's a total different energy. You are at a different level just for those 5-7 minutes till she completes the song. So every prayer of every religion, irrespective, really takes you into another world. Yeah.
Like, I listen to Shiv. Sometimes it's like every day. It is because why? Because sometimes when your head is going non-stop and you can't stop it, these prayer, these mantras get you aligned. So we know these, some days I can, some days I can't. So it helps you in alignment. It gets you balance. It gets you connection with your soul. So
So you shared with us that you start your day with Namo Aryantanam. What is your routine in the morning, which, you know, takes you and, you know, picks you up and lifts you up throughout the day?
See, my routine in the morning is when I get up, it's like I am on my bed, to be very honest. I don't go another, but at the same time on my bed, I will have a gratitude for my body first. I will say all of life comes to me with ease and joy and glory. That is the demand that I'm making from the universe. That this is what I like my life to look like. I'm putting that intent out. And then I listen to the Shiv chanting. Om Namah Shivaya, Sivji Sada Sai. I listen to it because it just raises that vibration. There's a connect. Just I do that. And then after doing that, I used to do Namo Aryantanam, and now I am not doing it every day. I am honestly admitting it. But then I switch off everything, and then with everything I go within me the 10 minutes that I spoke about, the 10 minutes of meditation within me without any noise, without any word, just being present with myself, so that it helps me to see, center, and flow with myself.
Yeah.
And then I ask a question, okay, what else is possible today? How much fun can I have with myself, with my work? Let's go out.
Yeah.
And then that's how I start my day.
So, most of us, especially city folks, we know all the kind of stresses we live with, and many of us suffer from these lifestyle diseases, high blood pressure and diabetes and thyroid and whatnot. And, now it's like as if you're wearing a crown. I'm also taking diabetic medicine and blood pressure and thyroid, and I'm so happy because everybody else also has it. So we know that these medicines will stop only when we die, when we give up our physical body. Can any one of these modalities or these, meditations or any,
Yes, these are reversible.
I'm not sure it works directly, which says your, medicine will go away, but do these help?
Yes, it does help, because the thing is, again, because everybody is having, right? So we mimic. We are originated from a monkey, right? So we mimic, we duplicate it to be a part of the circle. Okay.
Yeah.
So when you keep listening to this, you start doubting, oh, am I having this? Am I having this? These are the symptoms. We Google. So
Yeah.
we create that.
Yes.
Okay. And to be a part of the family, oh, it runs in my family. We very
Yes.
proudly say it runs. Oh, diabetes, it runs in my family. After 30, I need to take care. You've already planted the seed of that in the future.
Yeah.
Maybe you'll have it or not, but you planted the seed to belong, right? So, these modalities, like with Access, there's a body processes and all. When we work on the body, whatever you've logged, the thoughts, the feelings, emotions, the mimicry that we have of duplicating, it starts unlocking it. So there are people who have come with a lot of issues are no longer on medications also. So yes, it does work.
Wow, wonderful, wonderful. So in the very beginning, when Premraj asked you that question and you shared about your son, just as a follow-up, how is he? He's totally well. All those nightmares and everything is gone, and then
It was amazing, because I think with that EFT session, okay, I did the EFT session where I kind of expressed out the emotion that he was holding. From that next day, he was sleeping like a log and there was no issue. But it was just a awakening call for me to see something or choose something. So he became just the catalyst for my change.
Yeah. We again get to hear a lot about children. You mentioned your child was hyper, and I mean, one generation ago, 30, 40 years ago, there used to be 3, 3, 4, 4, 5, 5, 8, 8 siblings, and all of them used to grow up together, and there was never a thought about my child is hyper or autistic or this problem or that problem. We had that joint family system, and everybody used to take care of each other. Do you believe that, that breakup of that joint family system, we all becoming nuclear and everybody wanting to have only one child, has that changed, and is this becoming a little more prevalent and causing these problems?
See, the thing is, why? Yes, because the thing is, there were so many things to do, right? So your attention was diverted. You were not labeling your child. Right now, I am the one who's labeling my child. My child is hyper. Why? Because I don't want a judgment from somebody that I'm a bad mother. So I am trying to correct the course all the time, where I am not allowing them their natural flow of energy to go. But where was it coming? It was coming because I was a hyper child as a kid. I was all over the place. I have received all the judgment. My thing was to protect him from the judgment without realizing that I'm labeling him with the judgment. And yes, because see, the thing is, with the joint family, you deal with different people. You get different energies from different. Everybody cannot provide you the same thing.
Yes.
So we know how to relate with everybody. This young generation, because of being nuclear, or because I feel I am responsible for whatever they show up as. So it's my duty.
Yes.
And we are become a helicopter parent.
Yeah.
We are just, and that is like, it's suffocating. Let me learn from my mistake. Let me make mistake. We had made many mistakes which our parents were not aware of. Why? Because we're such a big family. And we grew up, we learned lessons. So it really helps. But at the same time, yes, when I look at joint family, I think my parents, my mother especially, the mothers didn't have time for themselves. So it's like both the side. Yes, there's a positive and there's a negative vibe, because now as a mother, I can still choose to do something and still be there as a part of my family. Otherwise, my whole focus or role because of the joint family was only kitchen.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, one generation ago, there was no Mrs. pageant, so mothers couldn't attend. Now those opportunities.
yes, it was. Yeah, true.
Yeah, so let's do one thing. Let's take a few questions from the audience or anything they would like to share. Balram has raised his hand. Balram, go ahead. 1 minute. Try and give your question or your comment. 1 minute. Yeah.
The psychological problems which you face, which the patient face, how do you deal with what type of therapy, the chiropractic or the pranic healing, or which is the therapy you decide?
See, the thing is, when you're doing a psychological problem, right, there's an emotion. So when if I ask you a question and you go back to an awareness, it helps me from the source point. But if I'm just doing healing without addressing verbally the question, even we change if we don't acknowledge it. So most of the time, the digging of question, like we say digging session, where I'm asking you, okay, where is it coming from? When was the first time you experienced it?
Yeah.
Right? It may sound like a counseling, but it's not a counseling. Why? I'm taking you energetically back from where you picked it up, where it's created, how it's helping you. When you have a total awareness, and then he says, okay, can we let this go now? And when you say, then we do infuse the energy of different energy methods and delete that from the system. But if I'm not aware, I'll keep picking it up because I don't know where I'm picking it up from. So when I know the source point, it makes me aware. Next time when I'm doing it, I'm like, oh, I'm doing it again. I'm not going to choose this.
Yeah.
So it makes you present. Otherwise, we normally run on an autopilot. This is who I am. This is who I am. No, we are not. We have become who we are based on the labels, the judgment, whether positive or negative, the people have given. So we are kind of holding on to that position.
Brenda.
One more question.
Yes, yes, Balram, and then Brenda. Yeah.
Yeah. What is the difference? What is the advice you are giving to the younger generation who are especially stressed level much more than the elderly people because of their work culture, especially the IT sector and all?
See, the things that what I will tell them is like, okay, the choices that you're making today, how it's going to show up in the next 5 years. If you don't do this today, will it impact in the next 5 years? If it's not going to impact, why are we holding on to it? Okay. And whose dream are you trying to fulfill? Because a lot of times, this young generation, we have put so much pressure on them. Oh,
Yes.
you are so good. You need
Yeah.
to do this. So it's like we are trying to fulfill our parents' dream more than ours.
Yes.
So when they get present that, okay, what would you like to have? What kind of life would you like to have of yours? That makes me present that I'm chasing something
Yeah.
which is not even mine. And if I'm burning out, it's basically a burnout. Burnout is like when you're not enjoying something and you're repetitively doing it too much to prove something. But those people will only turn around and tell me, who asked you to do it? So when they get present to this, and there's simple tools and questions that we give in the session, which helps them to keep in check whenever they are getting stressed. If you're getting too much stress, take that 10 minutes. That 10 minutes, take that, okay? Sit with yourself and says, okay, what's the hurry? I can take, if I can't afford to give myself that 5 minutes break or 10 minutes to compose myself, what is the use of that money? I'll be taking that medicine. What's the use? I'll have no time, because time will run away. So COVID taught us one thing. We are not sure, whatever age we are, whether we have the tomorrow or not.
Yeah.
So let me make that present. If I want to make this phone call, let me take that time and make this phone call. Hey, I love you and I miss you. I'll be late. Even if that conversation, it will shift that energy.
Yeah.
So this is the small tweak. I'm not saying you sit here and do meditation for 1 hour. We don't have that much time. We are rushing. But if you can just take the 5 minutes for yourself, a loo break, sit in the loo for 5 minutes where nobody can find you.
Yeah.
That's it.
Thank you.
Brenda, over to you.
and actually lowered my hand because I thought we were running out of time.
No, for
But
you, there is always time. You are our patron saint, Brenda. So,
No. But what comes to mind is one of the recent things that was very much in the news, the case of Navjot Singh Sidhu,
Hmm.
when he said that his wife, he managed to cure his wife of cancer at quite a late stage by just doing these kind of techniques or whatever he used as holistic healing.
Yeah.
And immediately, I think the doctors of which hospital it was, I think the hospital doctors immediately brought out the facts that he did all that,
Yes.
but he had also gone through the whole chemotherapy and the
Chemotherapy,
whole
yes.
radiation.
Yes.
I'm a cancer patient myself, and I really sailed through cancer. I always say cancer was, if you put a dash, for me, it was a blessing. Okay. Because from the time even before I went, I had diagnosed it. And for me, I knew that, I am ready to go. And whatever is going to happen is going to be only a blessing for me. But so that was in my mind. Every day, it was a sense of gratitude, knowing full well that whatever is this experience, it's meant to for my growth or for whatever reason, even if I have to go, it is for a good reason.
Yeah.
So I really, I had only gratitude in my heart. But yes, I went through the whole other process, and of course, the effect was that I didn't feel any side effects of either the chemo or the 21 radiations. And what was a 13 centimeter thing went off in 3 months without a surgery. But I don't attribute it just to this attitude or something. I also say there's a great part in the medicine that I accepted it.
Yes.
Because that also I had to go through.
Yeah. Yes. So I think Suruchi, she's talking about these things complementing, medicine and, this thing probably helping you heal better and faster. Yeah.
It does, because see, I know people who've gone through cancer and it's like, because when we create a cancer is in that time or the situation, what are we dying to get out from? Because there's something that has created that lump, known unknown. Okay. And sometimes, because now every third person when you hear is thinking, so we kind of fear, oh, I hope I have a lump, I hope it's not a cancer. We're searching. So we are manifesting. We don't realize the power of our words. We can
Yes.
manifest it. And the thing is, because of the mindset, the positive mindset you had, you healed.
Yeah.
Yes, sometimes we need that radiation. It's a cumulative effort. But then the thing is, how you said it's a blessing.
Yeah.
Sometimes people create this because it's a blessing, because then the family comes together.
Yeah.
Then because they feel lonely, now they're getting called from everybody checking on them.
Yes.
For them, the desire of that is so high that doesn't allow to them to let go of their cancer fully. Why? Because if the cancer goes back fully, everybody will go back to their normal life.
Falling back.
So sometimes our hidden agendas are so hidden, sometimes from us also,
Yeah.
but we are making the same choices and making it reoccur.
Yes.
And the people, it's not that it's not that we invited it knowingly, but unknowingly, what are you dying to get out from? When you
Yes.
start asking this question, it'll give you a lot of insight. And these tools helps you to let go of the grudges that you have with your partner or somebody or the situation. When that grudges disappear from your system, healing becomes faster. Even the medicine starts applying on the body, because sometimes you take medicine, but there's no effect of it.
Yeah.
Because you're still holding on to the pain, that anger that has created that cancer in the first place.
Wonderful. Thank you, everybody, for sharing. It is way past, 1:30. Suman wants to say something. Go ahead, Suman.
I'd like to share this September 28th, I and Suchi, we had gone together to Singapore for getting the Global Influence Women's Award.
Ah,
And this is Suchi's book, International Amazon bestseller, Conversations of My Soul.
wow.
This is my book, Unmasking Happiness.
Yes.
So though she's been part of our extended family, it was the first time in Singapore I had an energy healing done by her. because there were so many clients queuing up for her. I said, please, mera bhi kar do. And I can just say it was the best experience of my life, which I'd been craving for, the vision which I'd been carrying. And now recently because there's too much pain, and the first person's, kidhar jaun, who can relieve me, the name was Suchi. So recently I had an energy done for too much pain in my body, and I will say that she is magical. She's actually gone beyond the mind, so judgment, there's nothing. She just wants to help people, and this is all I can say for her. Thank you,
Thank you,
Suchi.
thank you,
Thank you
Suman,
so
for
much.
saying that. Thank you for sharing that information. We now know that there is a person within our influence, within our community, where if need be, this is the person you can reach out to and get things done. Thank you, Suman, for that. Thank you, Suruchi, for joining us on this Sunday afternoon. Let me hand it over to Premraj to officially close our meeting, reminding you, next Sunday, same time, episode number 230. Premraj, you are muted. Please unmute. Yeah.
Deepak ji,
Yes, Amit.
closing ceremony.
Gana. Amit has joined us after what? 2 months, 3 months, Diwali se.
Yes, after
Yes.
2 months almost.
Yeah. यार हीलिंग के ऊपर तो फिर गाना उस हिसाब से सोचना पड़ेगा, इमीडिएटली आता नहीं है.
Definitely, you can take your time till Premraj does the.
Thank you, Suruchi, for an amazing session.
Yes, wonderful.
There are a lot of takeaways for us to ponder over to bring more vitality into our lives. Thanks for leaving us with the mantra. All of life comes to me with ease, joy, and glory.
Yeah.
Thank you.
गाने के बजाय we can always say this, हम सबके अच्छे दिन आने वाले हैं, So thank you, Suruchi. Thank you, everybody, for joining in. Thank you for your questions and comments and that testimonial from Suman. Do join us next Sunday, same time, 12:30 India time, for the 230th episode of the Sunday Bloom Talk Show. God bless us all.
Thanks.
Thank you, everybody.